From across the parking lot at MetLife Stadium, we welcome you to the debut of the Giants Training Camp Report presented by Citizen as the 2022 NFL season for the New York Football Giants is underway. Bob Poppel along with Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara. So glad you can join us for this Giants first practice of 2022. And Shaun, everybody's fresh, everybody's excited. And the optimism of the new season is here, not only for the players, the coaching staff, for this great Giants fan base that's turned out today.
Yeah, absolutely. Electric energy right here to have fans in attendance, to see the stands set up, to see the interaction. We've got games, we've got cornhole, we've got slides and quarterback challenges for the fans. So it's great for them to be out here, to be able to watch practice in person. And, of course, you mentioned the energy on the field. Everybody's hoping that man right there, Daniel Jones, can step up and lead this Giants team, especially with the offensive woes that they've had. It's a big year for him, big year for this offense, big year for the Giants. But the fresh energy, the new perspectives, all of the new energy, the Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll era, today is day one. It begins now. And I tell you what, I can't wait to see some of these new wrinkles, some of the new things that they're doing as a team.
We saw as Daniel Jones was standing there, you see number 45, that's Daniel Bellinger. He's the Giants' fourth-round draft pick out of San Diego State. He was taken off PUP this morning. So the Giants got some good injury news. Blake Martinez is on the field today. Kadarius Toney, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Bellinger, who the Giants expect a lot of things from, out there today in practice one.
Yeah, I think they're really looking forward to Bellinger's versatility. He's a great blocker, really does a nice job of blocking on the move, but he's a threat out of the backfield as a receiver. As we see that man right there, Saquon Barkley with a hip bump with Giants' new center, John Feliciano. You mentioned the tight end. It's great to see the offensive lineman out there healthy and in full force. You'll see Mark Lewinsky, 64. He's at right guard. Feliciano's at center, as I mentioned. Shane Lemieux's in there at left guard. Andrew Thomas, the 4th overall pick from a couple years ago, is at left tackle. And at right tackle, we've got Evan Neal, the 7th overall pick from this year's draft.
Well, it all starts up front with the guys up front and this new reconfigured offensive line. Shaun, what is your overall take of the pieces that the Giants have put together here?
Yeah, Bob, that's a great segue right there because a lot of Giants fans and a lot of people on the outside world think the Giants have a quarterback problem. They don't. They haven't had a quarterback problem. They've had a blocking problem. And so the guys up front, the reason why they went out and got Evan Neal, why they brought in Mark Lewinsky, who's only given up 4 sacks in the last 2 years, John Feliciano, the reason why they're bringing these guys together is because they've done it before. They can block. Evan Neal is a mountain of a man. That will certainly help.
All right, let me ask you this, because I'm sure fans are wondering about it. The Giants have the Minecraft, or if you're a little bit older and you watch the Jetsons, they got the kazoo helmets on, padding on the helmets. Talk to us a little bit about what they're doing.
Yeah, a little bit of a different look here. I know we have released the new Legacy helmets and jerseys. That padding is not a part of it. It's covering the NY, and you can see a lot of the linemen are wearing it. They're not in pads today, so the whole idea with those cushions is to prevent concussions. The NFL has done all kinds of studies, spent a ton of money, and invested in a lot of money in this player safety aspect of it. And what they have found, Bob, is that concussions, the rate is higher within the first 7 to 10 days of training camp because you're not acclimated, you're not used to it. So for the Giants here, that is, forward thinking. We call that prehab. That's not being reactive, that's being proactive, saying for the guys, the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, that there's going to be some contact. Can we add a little insulation, a little more cushioning on top of the helmet?
Let's talk about Tyrod Taylor. This is a veteran presence. This is a guy that, let's face it, the last couple of years, if Daniel Jones or when Daniel Jones got hurt, with the exception of his rookie season when Eli Manning was still here and could come off the bench and win games for you, they haven't had guys that can perform at an NFL level. Now they have Tyrod Taylor. This guy has been a proven winner. He's a leader, and he provides insurance in case Daniel Jones gets hurt for this team to be able to go out and win some games and not completely fall apart as we've seen.
Yeah, I think Tyrod Taylor is going to be a big factor in this offense. You mentioned he's a leader. He's a proven winner. He won a playoff game for the Buffalo Bills a few years back when he was the starter. I think when you look at what he brings to the table for the Giants now, he knows this offense. He was in Buffalo. He understands it. He can help Daniel Jones out as he kind of learns and progresses with the terminology, with the reads, with the structure. Tyrod Taylor, look, if it wasn't for a couple of injuries, he would have started the last couple of years. You think about when he went into Cleveland, they drafted Baker Mayfield. He hurts his wrist in the game. Baker comes in, and that's the end of Tyrod Taylor. He goes to the Chargers. he's starting a game. He gets an injection, he gets hurt. Now all of a sudden Justin Herbert takes over literally on game day, and that was the end of that. So for Tyrod, I think he's ready, he's capable, he's a very accurate quarterback. He throws a really nice deep ball, but he adds another wrinkle to it. He's not just a quarterback that can scramble and get out of trouble. He is a running threat, just like Daniel Jones.
Davis Webb wears number 12. He spent time with the Buffalo Bills last year, originally a draft pick of the Giants. So what Coach Daboll has decided to do is bring in, like all new coaches, you bring in some people that understand your system, understand your terminology, and are able to help coach the other players.
Yeah, this offense is all about, being creative and being fresh. A lot of new concepts, a lot of new ideas for the players to grasp, and the quarterback has to be the one to get everybody lined up correctly. There's a lot of pre-snap motions in Brian Daboll's offense, a lot of different formations that are designed to stress the defense and create different one-on-one matchups. So the quarterbacks have to be all in. They've got to understand the language. They've got to get everybody lined up. Davis Webb on his second tour of duty, no doubt, is a totally different player mentally than he was the first time with the Giants, and no doubt he's more comfortable in this offense. I think when you look at the quarterback room and when you look at the attributes that they all have, they're all athletic. And watching some of the drills that they're doing, individual drills, a lot of shotgun ball handling action, RPOs, a lot of throws on the move in this offense. So that's something that they've been working on already, right in the very first practice. It's something they're going to continue to work on daily.
Things kind of getting underway. There's a tempo, there's an energy. Everybody feels really good about themselves, but the hard work is just starting to begin, isn't it?
It is, and this is really one of the building blocks of training camp, okay? They've done OTAs, they've done mini camp, whether it was, some guys doing that for the first time or this is their first practice. You have to learn the drills and what you're trying to accomplish, learn to work together. So, that's a big part of it there. We see Kayvon Thibodeau coming off on that blitz right there. That's exactly what Giants fans want to see. They want to see number 5 getting after the quarterback, coming downhill.
All right, so we had our first roar. We saw Thibodeau coming in on that blitz, but you saw Daniel Jones with the fist pump. You saw head coach Daboll all excited. You heard the fan reaction. So obviously the offense won on that play.
I think that's a great sign to see that right there. And when you see an unblocked defender coming on the quarterback like that, it looked like empty formation. So Daniel Jones got the ball out. You can see right here, he's moving Saquon Barkley to the other side. So, pre-snap command, that's big. There's Wan'Dale Robinson looking for a red zone catch right there. Looked like a good ball location. I'll take that throw all day long. Look for Wan'Dale Robinson to make some exciting catches, some electric plays. They are going to sprinkle him around. This kid was an all-American running back in high school. He could pretty much do everything out on the field, from jet sweeps to runs to quick screens. I tell you what, if you're a corner and you walk up to the line of scrimmage and you've got Kadarius Toney standing next to Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't know which choose your own adventure you want to pick there, because they're both pretty deadly in open space.
Yeah, and I think, I think everybody's excited to see what Robinson can bring to the table. He's got a lot of confidence, had a chance to visit with him a little bit in the offseason, and he's loaded with confidence. But the X factor in all this, we talked about Daniel Jones' availability. The real big X factor in all this is the availability of Kadarius Toney. In the few instances where we saw him on the field consistently last year, a massive difference maker. The question is, in the National Football League, your availability is paramount before you can do anything else.
Yeah, availability trumps ability every single time. And for Kadarius Toney, look, he was banged up. We saw what he could do in that big game against Dallas when I think he had 189 yards receiving. He's got a special set of skills. Now, can he just keep that together for 16, 17 games? That's the challenge for Kadarius Toney. But he's not alone. You mentioned Daniel Jones. We saw Kenny Golladay. He's got to stay healthy as well. And Saquon Barkley, I think last year coming off of his knee injury, I don't know that he was really 100% back to who he was. I think we're going to see a different Saquon Barkley this year. He looks a little bit leaner, looks a little bit lighter, and I think we're going to see a little more motivated as we see Saquon right there with that little jump cut. These runs now, this Buffalo Bills offense, their run concepts are going to be different. That unblocked defender on the backside is going to be blocked by Daniel Jones and by the quarterback with that RPO action. So it's basically going to be a read and react, but I think you're going to see Saquon Barkley a little more downhill in this run game, in this scheme. Of course, the offensive line has to do their part, but You're going to see a lot more downhill running, but you're also going to see a lot more of that. Saquon Barkley flexed out in the slot as a receiver.
So Daniel Jones, kind of going through different scenarios that the starting offensive line, at least the way it looks on paper, is in there, going against first-team defensive players. And that pass is, I think, picked off.
Darnay Holmes with the
Darnay
interception
Holmes
in the red zone. So, Bob, if I were to tell you two things the Giants have to do this year, they've got to take care of the football and they've got to convert in the red zone. Two areas that they were one of the worst in the NFL last year. That right there you can't do. But in practice, you have to try those kind of throws so you know, all right, what can I get away with on Sundays?
I know we've spent a lot of time, at least in this early part of the show, talking offense, but this is just Bob Papa's humble opinion. I feel like in each of the last 2 years, when Darnay Holmes has gotten hurt and his season has ended, it has hurt the Giants defensively. He's really good working out of the slot. He's a really versatile player, and I think Darnay Holmes staying healthy makes this Giants defense a lot better.
No doubt about it. He's phenomenal in the slot, and that was part of the reason why they drafted him out of UCLA, was his ability to shadow those slot receivers, because it's a two-way go. When you're on the outside, you can use the boundary as an extra defender. The slot is so much tougher to handle, but you saw right there on that play his anticipation, as we see a great throw by Daniel Jones to Wan'Dale Robinson in the back of the end zone. I think when you see that play, a lot of times defenders will try to make that interception. They don't come down with the ball. So the fact that he got that interception was huge. But that right there is exactly what the Giants need. They need red zone production, touchdowns. That was a great throw. It looked very similar to the play that we saw earlier where they didn't complete it. Just a fade route to the other side of the end zone. Great ball by Daniel Jones, and an even better catch by Wan'Dale Robinson.
Tyrod Taylor now back in at quarterback. There's that little subtle movement within the pocket, veteran move. That's a 12-year pro. Feels the pressure, knows how to slide, knows how to create space within the pocket while keeping his eyes up and seeing what he can do downfield, or at least in the check down category.
Yeah, great job there, Bob, breaking that down. You saw him kind of slide up, and he never looked to run. He was looking to just buy some time, slid up in the pocket, and then escaped, and then he found Matt Breida, who I think is going to be a really nice compliment to Saquon Barkley in the backfield.
Matt Breida, veteran player. He's dealt with some injuries over the last couple of years, but was a standout with the 49ers, and has been a really good player in the league.
And there you see Brian Daboll coming in there, and you could see him, with the hey, speed it up. I want to see tempo, getting in and out of the huddle. I mentioned Brian Daboll bringing his offense here, these concepts, and look, every offensive coordinator will tell you, hey, I do a great job of putting guys in great positions. So, for Brian Daboll, he's going to create all these new concepts, these new ideas, these new opportunities. The players are the ones that have to grasp and execute. And Brian Daboll, we talked about energy and fresh. Fresh is the word that kind of comes to mind. There is no fresher coach in the NFL right now than Brian Daboll. And I'm not talking about energy. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about fresh as in fashion fresh. This man is rocking J's. And if you don't know what J's are, they are Jordans. And every time I see Brian Daboll walk on the field, he's got a fresh pair of J's. There they are right there. You can see those look like the Jordan 1 lows. Brian Daboll, no doubt, keeping the feet comfortable, keeping the feet fresh, and hoping that parlays into a fresh offense. I tell you, Daboll he's a cool customer. He's a cool cat. Every time I see him in the building or in the cafeteria, players just kind of gravitate towards him. He reminds me of Bruce Arians in the mannerisms and the way that he could communicate with the players and the way that they gravitate towards him. So I think that's one of the true assets that he has as a head coach and as an offense coordinator.
Davis Webb's pass for Foster, incomplete. Andrew Adams, former Tampa Bay Buck, number 24. Andrew started his career with the Giants. He's back now with the Giants. Played his college ball at Connecticut. Hard to believe he's in his 7th year in the NFL.
Davis Webb, Andrew Adams. I think they overlapped in their very first tour. You mentioned the defense, though. This is obviously a new territory for the Giants defense and Wink Martindale, as we see a nice pass there.
And there's Andrew Adams back with the Giants. And, he's really carved out a nice career for himself. Was a guy that was forced into extended action with the Giants because of injuries, became a good player, wound up finding a home in Tampa. captured a championship and has rounded into one of those players that when you look at him, he's one of those guys that they can't all be superstars. But when you have a guy that's been through the battles and has the pelts on a wall, can play a role for you.
Yeah, and Andrew Adams playing down in Tampa, that's Todd Bowles' defense. It's a very blitz-heavy. They love safety pressures, so you're putting corners on an island. No doubt that's going to help him out in Wink Martindale's offense, who likes to do a lot of the same things.
Yeah, there he is. Don Wink Martindale, the Giants defensive coordinator. That's our first look at him. And I love the fact that Brian Daboll hired him. So many times, guys get hired, added to staffs because we worked together in college or we were on a staff together here or there. Brian Daboll openly admitted, I haven't really worked with Wink. I don't really know Wink all that well. All I know is in all the years that I've been putting offenses together, that guy has been a major pain in the you-know-what when I have to go against him. He's available. Why not interview him and bring him in?
Well, that's the ultimate compliment. Look, I had headaches and nightmares trying to prepare for your defense, the different fronts, the different coverages, the different blitzes that you were throwing at us offensively. So I'm tired of going against you. You know, I want you on my side now. I want you on my team. And for Wink, you know, I think that's the ultimate compliment. I'm sure that's the way he takes it. But for him, it's all about the identity and controlling the line of scrimmage first. The Giants, absolutely, there's room for improvement for them to stop the run. They were 25th last year. So they've got to win up front, win in the trenches. But when you look at what Wink Martindale wants to do, he wants to create pressure from outside in. He wants to get those outside rushers getting after the quarterback. He's not scared to bring the safeties in. He's not scared to put his corners on an island. So I think early on, Wink, the challenge for him is going to be, all right, who are my corners that I could trust in man coverage that are fine by themselves so that I can incorporate some of those blitzes and packages that I want to use to get pressure on these quarterbacks.
You've played in the NFL for a long time. You're a Super Bowl champion. You made a comment before we went on the air that the best you're going to feel until Valentine's Day is how you feel this morning coming on the field. As a veteran, how do guys pace themselves a little bit too?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the challenge is to not try to pace yourself because you've got to get your body ready to go. Now, for the players now, they don't have 2 practices a day, so it's when you get out there for that one practice, you've got to go full tilt because you've got to make sure you're in game shape. When the preseason games show up, you've got to be ready. But no doubt, when you come out the very first practice, first time you put on the helmets, the pads, everything is getting acclimated, you're getting used to all the new equipment. But your legs, this is as fresh as they're ever going to feel. You know that. So you're trying to create that physical freshness every single day. But knowing that, that's when the mental energy has to really take over. And mentally, you have to convince yourself that you're fresh. Coach Coughlin used to have a sign up in our team meeting room that said, week 1 enthusiasm for 17 straight weeks. That's the kind of mindset you have to have. And sometimes you just got to tell your body who's boss.
It's really interesting because, my first Giants training camp was 1988 at FDU Madison. And watching, what it was like then where, you're staying in these cramped college dorm rooms with not central air conditioning, 9 a.m. practice, full pads for 3 hours, shower, lunch, meeting, lift. Guys would figure out ways to get a nap in before suiting it up again for an afternoon practice in full pads, basically for the first couple of weeks of camp. But now the teaching, the walkthroughs, the mental stuff, that gets drilled in even more. So I would think the coaches are a lot less tolerant of mental mistakes.
Yeah, you really can't have it because if you only have one practice, to your point, Bob, say you have 12 to 16 plays in a team period, you can't have mistakes. You can't have a my bad. You've had time to walk through it. You've had time to go over it. And no doubt the mental reps and the walkthroughs are just as important. And I think also when you have less practice, Bob, you have less film to go over and correct. So the corrections, if somebody does make a mistake, are even more important when you have less practices.
All right, so what are your impressions of this first practice? Did you see a lot of kind of what you would expect from day 1 of training camp getting started?
I did. I think the first couple of days of training camp for most teams is a little bit more like an OTA or a mock mini camp before you put the pads on. Like I said, this is the acclimatization period as you want to get players used to doing football drills. Sure, guys have been working out, lifting and running on their own, but have they been doing routes, football specific drills? And then when you're working against an offense defense, that's different. You're working different muscles. I think the biggest thing that you want in the first couple practices is stay up. Coaches can't say that enough, and you're going to hear it over and over again. Stay up. We don't want any bodies on the floor. No bodies on the ground. That's how guys get injured. But I think when you look at the crispness, usually the first couple of practices, Bob, the defense is ahead of the offense. And I think for the Giants to come out, and obviously red zone is an absolute factor and a focus for them. They came out here, they did walkthroughs in the red zone, they did red zone on air routes, and then they worked it against the defense. So that is absolutely a point of emphasis, as it should be. And I'm pretty impressed with the way Daniel Jones has already commanding this offense.
And if you go to the Giants' social media platforms, you'll get an opportunity to see sort of the setup that the team has put here at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center. It is definitely very fan-friendly. There are a lot of things to do for kids and families of all different ages. There's food, there's concessions, there's a lot of things to do.
Nice.
Yes, premium Italian sausages. So a very nice vibe. It's great to have fans back, and
plenty of shade.
plenty of shade.
Fans, there's lots of shade. You will be cool. Don't have to worry about the heat. It won't be a factor for you.
Yeah, so the Giants have really done a nice job in welcoming the fans back as we're kicking off training camp 2022. Make sure you tell all your friends to check it out on the Giants YouTube channel. And of course, it'll air in the evenings at MSG, and we're going to be back on Thursday. So for Shaun O'Hara and our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for watching us for edition number 1 of the Giants Training Camp Report, presented by Citizens.